Hello friends, this is Global Citizen. Welcome to my presentation. Today I have come up with a new set of presentation which will talk about the Chinese aggression and its neighborhood. In this set of presentation, I would also attempt to compare the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, I would attempt to unmask the real face of the Chinese Communist Party and try to compare with other kind of categories such as syndicate, gangs, group, or mafia, whether or not the Chinese Communist Party a real political party or a mafia gang which is actually attempting to run a nation. Before I move ahead, I would also try to show you the actual map of China before the annexation of three largest provinces of current China, and those are Tibet, East Turkestan, and South Mongolia. So this map shows the east side of Asia continent. Okay. In the color part of the map, there are, like in the brown section, you'll see East Turkestan, which is northwest side of China, and South Mongolia, which is on the north of China, and below on the southern side is China and Hong Kong. And there is another part which is on the southwest of China, is red and blue, it's Tibet. And these three, East Turkestan, South Mongolia, and Tibet, used to be free independent states. Of course, they have been colonized by the Qing dynasty for short duration time, but at the time of 1920, around 1920, when the first Chinese Revolution took place, they were independent states. Now, East Turkestan is known as Xinjiang province of China, and South Mongolia is known as Inner Mongolia, and Tibet itself is known as Tibet. So if you look at the map closely and see the geographical area, so you will find these three largest provinces of current China constitute more than 50% of current China. So that's how its aggression have been right from its inception in 1919. I'm talking about Chinese regime, but mostly it shows the face of the Chinese Communist Party. So, the real face of China looks like a mafia to me, which is basically functioning in the guise of a political party. And this is what I'm going to unmask about the Chinese Communist Party. I'm sure you will concur with my conclusion that the Chinese Communist Party is really a mafia. So if you are wondering about mafia, how do you describe a mafia? I went on online to find out the definition of mafia and the way it works. Okay, I found most descriptive definition of mafia on Wikipedia. As per Wikipedia, a mafia is a type of organized crime syndicate whose primary activities are protection, racketeering, arbitrating disputes between criminals, and brokering and enforcing illegal agreements and transactions. Mafia often engage in secondary activities such as gambling, loan sharking, drug trafficking, prostitution, and fraud. Mafia also provide protections to private businesses, which is by force. They don't really want, but if you do not pay money to mafias, they will create problem for you. And more description can be found online. If you want online to find out Wikipedia definition, and you can go to www.wiki.mafia. That is www.enwikipedia.org wiki/mafia. So I'm just going to take you to the into the history of the Chinese Communist Party. It has a well-known history of nibbling away neighbors' land and then stake claims on their territories. Ever since it was founded in 1919, okay, the Chinese Communist Party, which was known as Zhongguo Gongchan Dong in Chinese, it has always attempted to subdue those which it considered weak or weaker nations compared to it. Always attempted to grab others' territories, okay, stake claim on others' places and annex them. And that's how it has annexed Tibet, South Mongolia, and East Turkestan. China's mafia-like behavior. It all shows China always behaves like a mafia and attitudes just like a rogue. I'm talking about the Chinese Communist Party, and in fact, it provides protections to other mafia states, rogue authoritarian states just like itself around the world, and that too in order to exploit their natural resources for a throwaway prices. And that is what exactly is happening. And they have taken different kind of faces like Belt and Road Initiative kind of thing or something else. Since the current China, that is People's Republic of China, has a veto power in the United Nations Security Council, so it uses that, exploits that power to help to protect those rogue nations on the platform of United Nations, and thereby it basically exploits their natural resources. So in this map, or in this photograph, this shows People's Liberation Army soldiers marching towards Lhasa when they surrounded one of the southeastern cities of Tibet, Chamdo, and they surrounded Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, from the middle of the Tibetan plateau, all the way from southern side of Tibetan plateau to the northern side of Tibetan plateau, because Tibetan plateau is a big one. It basically constitutes at least 40%, 35 to 40% landmass of the total current China. Now I'll take you into the history of barbaric invasion by the Chinese Communist Party. I just want to tell you that the People's Liberation Army, you must have heard People's Liberation Army, PLA, that is owned by the Chinese Communist Party. It does not owe allegiance to the nation, but it owes allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party. And most of the elites which run the Chinese Communist Party belong to Han ethnicity. They are from Han ethnic background. And those people do not really mind any kind of inhumane, insensitive, or cruel act against any other person. And that's why they did not mind. They invaded their own country, which was the Republic of China, that was ruled by the KMT, which was the Nationalistic Party. Okay, and that's how they invaded, and then they took power of China, and then they changed the name to People's Republic of China. And they don't really mind killing people. And in that process, which was like Chinese Revolution, okay, in that process they killed millions of people. I do not really have any exact number because of the way the country has been closed to outside. Okay, but it is believed it has killed more than 20 or 30 million people. So you can very well imagine their barbaric face, their barbaric nature, and that continued until their cultural revolution finished. So that is how they behaved with their own people, and that's how they started suppressing human rights or individual freedom within that country. And they have an imperialistic mindset, and that mindset was exhibited right after taking over China. They don't mind taking over other places, other territories by hook or by crook. Okay, they recaptured East Turkestan. Now I have there's a misprint in 1949, not in 1955. Although there was an agreement they have arrived at with the original habitant of the East Turkestan, which is now Xinjiang province of China. Okay, but they forced them to arrive at the agreement. This province never historically belonged. They have different cultural and historical links. They do not have those cultural and historical links with the other Chinese common historical cultural values. They have completely different kind of set of values. So, and then they also invaded South Korea, which was already reeling in the aftermath of the Second World War. And later on, that happened in 1950, and in 1950 also they invaded the Tibet. That was a free independent state at that point in time. They deceitfully annexed Tibet. They surrounded Tibet from the southeastern side. Okay, that there was a city called Chamdo that was in the southeastern of Tibet. Okay, because Tibet is spread on the Tibet plateau is a big, huge landmass. Okay, so they surrounded Lhasa from the middle of the Tibet plateau, and they captured Chamdo's city, and they killed thousands of Tibetan people there, including Tibetan army. Although Tibetan army was just for the sake of name, they did not have a huge army, but they killed many thousands of Tibetan people. And after that, they also invaded India. India was considering China as their friend, and that's why they did not really interfere when they annexed Tibet. Okay, and they had a kind of slogan going on in China: Indian and Chinese are brothers. Okay, in their language it was called Hindi Chini Pai Pai, Hindi Chini Pai Pai, and they stabbed in the back by invading India in 1962 in October, when the entire world was busy with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay? And in that process, they captured large amount of area on the border side states of India. They never returned it. Later on, they invaded their own brother communist country, which was USSR. Along the province of Heilongjiang, there is a river on the northeastern side of China, and they basically attacked Russian army, that time USSR army, which never expected that China would be attacking their army personnel, and they killed many USSR army personnel in that process. That tussle ended in 1966. And I want to point one more thing about that military action by China. When Chinese felt that they won't be able to subdue Russians, when they started feeling defeat, they retreated back. They retracted their own army, and that's how that issue was settled at that time. Okay, and later on, guess what? Another communist brother, Vietnam. They invaded Vietnam in 1969, soon after Americans forces left Vietnam. Vietnam already war-ravaged country, but despite that, they invaded their brother with communist country, Vietnam. You can very well imagine their vicious mindset, because they felt Vietnam must be very weak. Anyone who does not agree with their point of view will face their wrath. They will be ready to hit you from anywhere. And later on, during after 69, after they were recognized by USA, or they were recognized by the United Nations, they also engineered covert coups in different parts of the countries, mostly in their neighborhood. One of them is Myanmar, that is Burma. Okay, another one, very latest casualty to their nefarious design is Nepal. And I have information that not only that, they orchestrated that coup in Nepal to stall the puppet communist government in Nepal. But I have heard that there is a connection, deep link between the murder of the royal family members, okay, and the Chinese Communist Party. And they were the one who have engineered all that murder from the in a very covert manner, okay. And that's how, so that the monarchy system could be brought down in Nepal, and then they can somehow install their own communist party. For that reason, they also use their communist agents from around the world, mostly Chinese agents from India and Myanmar.
The long march in China ended. The People's Republic came into being. Very quickly, Mao urged Tibetans to free themselves of feudal rule. Harar had filmed the last rituals of a condemned society. Young Dalai Lama was increasingly facing threats. Warned of the danger, the monks decided to crown him 2 years before the normal age. He had just turned 15. As the crowning ceremony was taking place in Lhasa, history was on the move.
命令人民解放军进军西藏。
3 Chinese armies under the orders of Marechal Lin Piao crossed the Yangtze and rolled towards Tibet to guarantee their security against the plans of the imperialist Americans.
庄严的誓师大会上一致表示。
The Chinese had never been happy with the accord signed with Great Britain for Tibet's independence. Because they had invaded it in the past, China always considered Tibet as a province. Mao waited fewer than 100 days to make his intentions known, announcing, "The Tibetan people will return to the family of the mother country."
冒着汹涌的急流，顽强地渡过去。大渡河宽170公尺。 每秒钟水流。
An expedition was launched.
我们的英雄们冒着危险，在大渡河上又一次创造了历史。
To open the roads, build bridges, cross passes at an altitude of more than 5,000 meters. The troops came from all over.
从甘孜继续前进的路上， 因为山高路窄，汽车不能通行，战士们背上了武器、弹药、干粮前进，每人背着80多斤的东西，越过高山峻岭，穿过原始森林。
They took almost a year to get to the border of autonomous Tibet.
他们带来全国各族青少年和亿万革命群众的心愿。
The fighting lasted only a short time. Outnumbered by 10 to 1, poorly armed with no battle plans, the tiny Tibetan army was crushed. The pretext for the intervention was the presence of a foreign army, 6 advisors, and a radio man, Robert Ford. Just before being captured, he was able to warn Lhasa of the imminent danger. The decision was taken to send the Dalai Lama away to safety, somewhere near the Indian border. With him went a part of the royal treasure, containers of gold powder. This had already been done during other invasions in the past. From the north and the east, the Chinese troops converged on Lhasa. 200 kilometers from there lay the city of Shigatse, Tibet's second city, the home of the Panchen Lamas. The Panchen Lama was also the reincarnation of his predecessor, and was number 2 in the hierarchy of political and religious power. He was 14 years old, and was totally dependent on the opinions and the plotting of his advisors. He became the point man of the communists. He wrote Mao, "Tibet is with you." 9 months later, a unit of the People's Army took up residence in Lhasa. There were 20,000 soldiers for 50,000 Tibetans. The seizures, punishments, and famine began. Nothing would ever be the same. Propaganda showed off Tibet as free and Chinese, a nation among others in the large family of Greater China.
给拉萨和他的人民带来了永久的和平和安宁的生活。这是帝国主义者的严重失败，这是和平的伟大胜利。
The first meeting between a political official and the Dalai Lama, who had returned to Lhasa, was filmed for propaganda purposes. In Beijing, emissaries of the Tibetan government signed under pressure a 17-point accord that the Chinese then ratified with a false Dalai Lama stamp. The accord
intimidates those who do not agree with their point of view. steal others' property or an area that doesn't belong to it. Okay. Gives protection to other mafia states or authoritarian states to exploit their resources. Form syndicate with other wrongful individual or organizations such as Islamic militants. Again, my sources have confirmed that they have formed alliances with those kind of organizations which have close links with the Islamic militants, Islamic terrorists. And it is being investigated deeper now, and it will come to the knowledge of entire world very soon that they have secretly formed alliances with such organizations which are using terrorist organizations for pursuing their geopolitical ambitions. And exactly this Chinese Communist Party is also having a big role in that kind of alliance. And this Chinese Communist Party, it is also believed, is also indulging in smuggling, such as gold smuggling and even drug trafficking, to make more and more foreign exchange. They want to make more money by hook or by crook. So now I have listed all these things which are the part of their functioning, which are the part of their activities. Okay, so all these activities do match with the definition given for the term mafia. So that's why I'm saying the Chinese Communist Party is nothing but a mafia. So what do you think about Chinese regime now? I'm sure you would definitely agree with my point of view that it is absolutely a mafia which is running a nation in the garb of a political party, an authoritarian. Of course, everybody knows that. It can go to any level to achieve its illicit, illegal, unethical objectives. And it is doing that. It has very, very imperialistic, expansionist ambitions to capture all as much land possible, as much territory as possible. Wherever it sees it has some value, it will attempt by hook or by crook to capture that. In many instances, as I mentioned to you in my previous slide, that there is a nexus between Communist Party, okay, and Islamic terrorist organization. And it always suppresses the individual freedom in China, and it will also impose a similar kind of ideology if any other country would accept that kind of communist party system in their country. And it basically uses punitive actions against anyone who questions about their regime, about their action, about their illegal, unethical actions, such as creating a virus which has created havoc throughout the globe, which has killed more than 300,000 people throughout the world. And the biggest economies, most advanced countries in the world have been struggling with this pandemic. Not only those countries, basically at least 194 countries have been suffering badly with the coronavirus pandemic. So this is basically, if you are asking for the investigation, if you are asking for any kind of probe into the origin of the virus, okay, they will punish you, they will attempt to punish you by any way they can do, such as they will suspend the trade deals, they will suspend the export of a material from your country, which will in turn hurt your country's economy. And that is exactly what they are doing. They have been doing with Australia, they have been doing with European countries, they have been threatening to do with USA. Everywhere if you question anything from the Chinese Communist Party. So in my view, the Chinese Communist Party is nothing but a sham political party, which is a face of a mafia and nothing else. So friends, just leave your feedback, your opinion. What do you think about that? Please, I would really appreciate any kind of feedback, negative, positive, that will certainly give me a chance to improvise and improve, and so that I can bring more information about the corrupt Chinese Communist Party or something similar to that. If not the Chinese Communist Party, from around the world, which are running the authoritarian state, and provide you more information so that you would find out what's happening around the world. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and I would also appreciate if you can subscribe to my small channel. That will definitely encourage me, motivate me further. Thank you.